Hi, this is Dr. Kenny Handelman with a video for you, and I've titled it, What Do You Mean That ADHD Medications Don't Work and How the News Misquoted Me? You see, there was a story that came out today, and I was interviewed for the TV news, and they kind of misquoted me, so I wanted to take the time to give you a little video on YouTube to explain the nature of the story and tell the whole version, not what the TV editors cut out of what I said. So in the news today, November 12th, 2007, you can see over here that we've got a news story that ADHD drugs could stunt growth. And that's November 12th. Drugs used to treat ADHD have no long-term effectiveness and could stunt your child's growth. And this is a story that came out of news.com.au and talked about the multimodal treatment study, and basically was saying that the medicines have no long-term effectiveness and could stunt your child's growth. And that was really a big concern for many people, and that caused the news to go abuzz. This one, well, I put it in here, this is from eCanadaNow.com. This has even got a mock-up of a cereal box, Ritalin-O's. I eat them with bananas, he. Kids go crazy for Ritalin-O's. I guess that's a bit of a silly graphic, or maybe a funny graphic, I don't know. But it's basically saying that these medicines have no long-term effectiveness, according to a new study which will be part of a BBC television special. It's talking about the multimodal treatment study, and we've got Buffalo professor William Pelham, who is in fact a very important researcher in ADHD. So this has caused a lot of stories in the news and a lot of concern. So today I did a TV interview, and basically what happened was I was misquoted. And this sometimes happens. Now, I want to be clear, it's an error of omission, not commission. In other words, they didn't splice me together to say something I didn't say, but in fact they edited in such a way that it made it seem like I was saying something I wasn't. Now, what do I mean by this? I was explaining that if somebody doesn't have proper treatment for ADHD, which often includes the medicines, they could be at higher risk of teen pregnancy, drug and alcohol problems, not doing well in school, etc. And the way they edited it, it made it seem like I said if you took the medicines for ADHD, that you were at higher risk of teen pregnancy and everything else. So I really didn't feel very comfortable with that. I'm not going to mention the news channel or anything else. I think they were generally reasonably responsible with their representation, but I just didn't like that. So that's what Web 2.0 is all about. That's what using these videos and YouTubes and blogs is all about. So I can tell the rest of the story. So I wanted to get the story straight and just explain to you what actually happened and what led to all of these news stories and how you should really understand it and what it means to the treatment of ADHD as it may impact you, your child, or your teenager. So this story is actually about the multimodal treatment study. Now, what was or is the multimodal treatment study? It was a very well-designed and very well-funded research study that was done in the United States with one site in Canada. And it was a 14-month clinical trial of different treatment strategies. There were 579 children with ADHD, and the subjects were randomized. That means they took all of these children and they put them randomly into one of 4 different groups. So the first group was medication management. This was taking medicine on a strict research protocol. So, based on their weight, they got certain doses and they were increased over time, etc. Then the second group was behavioral management. And this referred to an intensive behavioral program to help the individuals with ADHD and the families learn how to manage the behavior. And then there was medication management and behavioral management, and that's a combination of the both treatments. And actually, you can see that I'm a Canadian. I'm a Canadian doctor because I spelt behavior this way, O-U-R. But anyways, if you'll forgive me that. And then there was community-based treatment, and that basically referred to kids or teens going to their regular pediatrician or family doctor for any kind of treatment and not following a rigorous research protocol. Okay, so 4 different groups trying to figure out what actually works: medicine, behavioral treatments, the combination, or just standard care in the community. Well, this is a chart that summarizes the results of the multimodal treatment study. Basically, what we have here is the community treatment group really only had about 25% of the children who responded to that treatment. So this on the y-axis here is classified as a clinical success. So what percentage of people actually had a success? Psychosocial treatment only was 34%. And, pretty good for the behavioral treatment, but not amazing. Medication only was 56%, and then combined treatment was 68%. All right. Now, one of the conclusions that people had from this study was that, in fact, that statistically, there was a difference between the groups that had medication and the groups that did not have medication. In other words, if you had medication treatment, either alone or in combination with behavioral treatment, it was significantly better than if you didn't have any medication treatment. Ultimately, the group that did best was when there was combined treatment, medication plus behavioral treatments, and that the individuals in this group had lower doses of medicine, better compliance, so they took their medicine more effectively and ultimately did better. But some people said, well, if you just give medicine alone, this works better than behavioral treatment, so why go through all those expensive behavioral treatments? That was one of the interpretations that some people had of this study. After 14 months, they had what's called open follow-up. That means that the kids who were in whichever group were allowed to go out and get whatever treatment they wanted and just come back to the research center on regular intervals to be monitored. So no longer were the medication groups following the research protocol, no longer were the behavioral therapy groups getting the strict behavioral therapy. They were basically going about their own business and doing whatever kind of treatment they wanted to get in the community. And basically, after 3 years, the difference between the medication group and the behavior therapy group is gone. This is what really came out in the news, that there was a new study done at 3-year follow-up that the initial difference is gone. Well, the main reason for that is that the children were no longer in the research protocol. They could do whatever kind of treatment they wanted to do. So any initial group differences were gone at 3 years of follow-up. So the misinterpretation that the press has jumped on in the past day is that these medicines don't work at 3 years of follow-up. In fact, what it is that on open follow-up, when people aren't in a research protocol, there's no difference anymore. But the ultimate conclusion from the multimodal treatment study is that combination therapy is the best. That's the take-home message. And that message doesn't change now just because of a new study that came out that I think is being somewhat misinterpreted. There was another concern in these news stories about stunted growth. And generally, it's about 2 to 3% of kids who may have some growth issues. It's very important if your child is taking a stimulant medicine to monitor height and weight every 6 to 12 months. And ultimately, you have to remember to balance the risks and benefits. Having a slight slowing of growth is a risk, but you also have to think of the benefits of treatment. If the benefits of medication means that your child is actually getting an education and having friends and not being suspended and not getting into serious trouble, it may be worth balancing that risk against the benefit. I don't know and I can't tell you, but you can talk to your doctor about it and evaluate the risk and benefit as it applies to you, your child, and your family in your specific circumstances. So you need to remember that without proper treatment, ADHD can lead to serious long-term difficulties and problems. And that's why we want good comprehensive treatment. So to summarize, the goal of treatment for ADHD is a combination treatment. The multimodal treatment study told us that behavioral treatments with medication are ideal and the best. I've expanded this list a little bit to include parenting strategies, academic strategies, medication, behavioral treatments, but also coaching. This hasn't been researched so much, but can be tremendously helpful. And then also alternatives. You know what? There's not as much evidence that alternatives work, but things like omega-3 fatty acids or potentially some minor diet changes, not in exclusion to behavioral treatments and medication treatments, but in combination may be helpful. To summarize, knowledge is power. You know, this isn't the first time that a story would be misinterpreted and made public in such a large scale, but it's really critical to know the facts. And I've put out a special report, 25 pages on ADHD medication, trying to let you know some statistics, very important information to help you to know the role that medication plays, and you can get access to that at medicationmastery.com. The address is right on the screen. Once you get that report, you'll have the ability to join up an educational program if you're so interested. But even if not, just getting that report will give you more information that you need. And I hope this has cleared it up for you and explained what the big concern has been over the past day or so in the news. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.